expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
And welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and this week I'm so happy to be joined once again by my old friend. It's Steve Sabatke. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, thank you. Guess what I was doing when the solar eclipse occurred earlier this week?
What was that?
I was at the Wisconsin Film Festival.
Hey, me too.
Yeah.
I heard about it. Some people asked if we were going to stop the movies.
Did they really?
Yeah, like you're gonna stop the movies? We said not so much.
No, I enjoyed the festival much more.
Good, good. Well, we're gonna talk about the festival later on in the show because we were both there to see some movies and other things. But first, let's get started with what we have on the marquee this week. We have one film playing in theaters, and that is a film called Monkey Man, written, directed, starring Dev Patel as. It's his directorial debut, and he is a man known as Bobby, or a Kid, who we meet in the underground, brutal, bare-knuckle fighting ring, where he wears a monkey mask, taking on the aura of Hanuman, a Hindu legend, and many of the others that he fights also don animal masks, as they are treated more like animals than humans by their promoter, a man who goes by Tiger, played by Sharlto Copley. Dev Patel's character is living in the slums of India, scrapping by in any way that he can, but we see early on that he has his vision focused on one thing, and that's retribution. And in order to get his retribution, he's going to have to infiltrate the elite, through the elite, fighting through the caste system in India, where the disparity in wealth and power is as strong as it is anywhere. It's a bloody film where most of the action happens up close with fists and close weapons. And although not necessarily original in its concept, I mean, it's a revenge movie. He was wronged, and he's seeking revenge in the darkest, bloodiest way possible. I really enjoy how Dev Patel drew this familiar trope into a world that's kind of different than other ones. It's drawn comparisons to John Wick. Naturally, I feel like every movie now that has a revenge theme to it draws comparisons to John Wick. I mean, John Wick is directly referenced in this movie at one point where...
right away in the beginning.
Yeah, Bobby goes to attempt to buy a gun, and the dealer says, hey, I got the John Wick gun. But I did like... One thing I liked about this movie that's different from a lot of these shoot-'em-up revenge stories is it differentiates itself when he buys a gun, and he buys just a modest revolver when he's offered many other things, and then he doesn't even really get to use that gun to its potential. And that's it for guns in the movie. It's all hand-to-hand combat for the most part. And Dev's character is he's a guy who takes endless beatings. He's driven by revenge. And he's sympathetic as one of the nobodies of this world who is keen to deliver violence to no end. I mean, it's a theme that we've seen many, many, many times in revenge movies, right?
He follows the formula it's a pretty standard formula, and he pretty much follows it.
And you have to kind of fight through the levels of bad guys to get to the big baddie.
I mean, I like Dev Patel. I think he's a pretty decent actor. I liked him in Lion and The Green Knight and some other movies. I mean, I think he did a fairly decent job with this debut as a director. But, I had some issues. The fighting scenes are shot at close range. I looked like it was with a handheld camera, and you don't get that panoramic view of the fights that you got in the John Wick movies.
See, I kind of liked it in this one, though. Because
Did you really?
Because the whole movie is set in this just gritty part of India.
Supposed to focus on.
Sure.
And there is an Amazon series, I think it's a documentary series that's coming out very soon about these same events called A Very Royal Scandal.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think this movie just scratches the surface, and it would have been a lot better, had it been a dramatic TV series.
Okay.
But I will say this, the highlight of the movie was the performance by Gillian Anderson as Emily Maitlis, who does the interview. And my wife and I talked about this after watching this. Well, first of all, she's excellent.
Yeah.
You would swear that she is British.
Yeah.
She's not.
That's been a thing that's gone through her whole life where people are like,
She's from
"Wait,
Chicago."
She's not British? Yeah.
That's why my wife said, is she British? And I looked it up and I said, no, she's from Chicago.
Yeah. She's just really good at it.
And she's good.
One of the few Americans that can pull off British.
Yeah,
The opposite
she
is almost
does.
always true, but
Yeah. So I really enjoyed her performance in this. But overall, I mean, it's a decent movie, but as far as, I mean, it doesn't really compare to movies like She Said, which I really praised recently, and Spotlight and those types of things. I ended up giving it 3 stars.
okay.
I thought The Scoop was more soft serve.
Ah, I love it.
There you go.
There we go, kids.
But
All right, at the top of the show, we were talking about the Wisconsin Film Festival,
Yeah.
which just wrapped up yesterday as of this recording. We had 8 days of films.
Wow.
And I helped run the Wisconsin Film Festival, a couple of the venues, and my pal Steve here came to see a couple of movies.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to kind of give a recap of some of the things we saw. And I'm going to start. I only was able to actually watch a couple of movies, despite being there for the entirety of it. But I had some interesting ones. So one that I saw was a new indie film called Good One from director India Donaldson. It's her first feature-length film. It's a really quiet, thoughtful indie film. Doesn't even have a trailer, so we're going to look at this. That is Lilia Kolias playing Sam. This is her debut. She's 17 years old. Incredible. It's a father-daughter trip. They're going camping and hiking for a long weekend when Dad's old friend Matt, played by Danny McCarthy, joins them. He's at a rough point in his life, recently divorced, struggling in his relationship with his own teenage son. He's a mess. He's ill-prepared for this journey, both mentally and physically. Sam is a 17-year-old girl who seems wise beyond her age and has had to deal with plenty as her own parents divorced. And Chris, her dad, played by James LaGrosse, just wants to have time away, time with his daughter that he sees as fleeting as she's growing up, and also a time to escape the real-world troubles that he is facing. And he seems like a really earnest dad, a good guy who would probably prefer to just have a father-daughter trip, but he also seems to almost pity his old friend who can't get his life together, seems to be stuck in stunted adolescence. And we watch as this quiet journey over the quietly telegraphed, and it had me squirming in my seat going, please don't let this happen. Please.
Wow.
And the final third of this film and the final day of their 3-day weekend is watching how this is then addressed or not addressed, how this is handled. And as myself, as a father of a daughter, this led to a lot of internal struggle for me about how this was handled and the disappointment that I had in the father character. But really what stood out to me was Lily Kolias in her debut, absolutely incredible. Like, she dominated the screen in what is basically just a 3-person cast. And she reminded me of, I remember when I saw Thomasin McKenzie in Leave No Trace a few years ago with Ben Foster, and how she blew me away. And I think that this young lady is going to be someone to watch over the years, because I'm truly convinced she's going to be a good one. We had a Q&A with the filmmaker afterwards, too, and she talked about how she discovered
was she
her.
there?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Wow.
India Donaldson was there.
Nice.
Had a nice Q&A with her. She talked about the internal strife that led to making this movie and the discovery of this young actress out of nowhere, and it was really inspiring. I absolutely loved it. And so Good One is a film that it's probably going to be a little tougher to find. It's a small film, but I definitely recommend looking for it in upcoming months. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Oh, is this a new film that just came out?
It's 2024.
Okay.
And I don't know if they have distribution yet or not. A lot of films at the Fest are actually looking for distribution.
Okay.
Some of them are big films that are about to come out. This one is one I think we're going to have to search for once it actually comes out, wherever it lands.
And did she write the screenplay for this?
Yes,
too?
this
She
was
did.
all her. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. You came and saw a movie that when I saw you afterwards, you were raving about.
Oh, I'm going to rave some more.
All right.
If that's okay. Yeah, I saw Ennio, which is directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, and it's a 2021 documentary film which celebrates the life and legacy of the Italian composer Ennio Morricone, who died in 2020. Now, if you don't know who Ennio Morricone is, you probably have heard his film
had to have.
scores. His scores have been in movies like the Sergio Leone Italian Westerns, which starred Clint Eastwood, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Days of Heaven, The Mission, The Untouchables, Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, which he won an Oscar for. My first exposure to Morricone came from a 1968 Western, which I watched on TV many, many years ago, called Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, yeah.
What struck me the most about that movie at that time was the film score. I had never heard anything like that before in a movie. It was a sweeping, majestic, symphonic score. There was these haunting vocals by this woman. And it made such an impact on me that after I saw it, I went out and I bought the soundtrack album.
Yeah.
I just loved the music that much. And then it happened again when I saw the 1984 movie Once Upon a Time in America, one of my all-time favorite films. And then it happened again when I saw The Untouchables, which I loved. And the films that Morricone has composed scores for, in my opinion, would not have had nearly the dramatic impact that they had without his music. In fact, one of the things I learned from this documentary is that during the filming of Once Upon a Time in America, some of the scenes that were shot with the music playing in the background.
Oh, wow.
For that particular scene, and I had never seen that before. And Leone wanted that in there in these scenes,
To
so it
instill
would
that
just,
emotion, huh?
enhance the drama of what was going on for that particular scene. I mean, I love documentaries about artists, and this is the most detailed, comprehensive documentaries that on an artist that I've ever seen. And one of the main reasons for that was Morricone himself. They did an interview with him, and there's a lot of that in the movie. And all the things that he remembers that happened during his life with such detail, it's just amazing. It covers everything. He wanted to be a doctor, but his father made him play the trumpet and become a musician. He was always so concerned that composing music for movies would not be taken seriously by his peers. Lots of film clips. There's moments when a film clip is shown with his music, and then the film goes from the clip to a latter-day appearance where he's conducting an orchestra, playing the same music. Lots of comments from directors and screenwriters and actors, Clint Eastwood, Bruce Springsteen, who apparently...
I saw him there, and John Williams. I mean, I see some famous faces in this
Springsteen plays his music at the start and the end of his concerts.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
he's a master.
It's a long movie. It's over 2.5 hours long. And if you're not a movie buff who's into film scores, it may be a bit of a journey to get through, but I didn't feel that at all. I loved it. I thought it was just a wonderful documentary.
You came out raving about it. There were more than one person came out of that theater in tears at the end of the movie.
Yeah, there's some moments.
We saw a lot of emotion from people coming out of that film, and it got high ratings from everyone who was balloted after the film.
Did it?
Yeah. It was overwhelmingly loved.
Yeah, and there are some emotional moments during this where I shed a few tears myself. Now, I looked it up. It is starting to stream now this month. I think you can rent it for like $3.99 at the various streaming services. So I would, if you're interested, please check this out. I mean, in my mind, there's two top film score composers, and that's John Williams,
the two masters,
and Ennio Morricone.
Yeah.
If you have any appreciation of all music and movies, see this movie.
So what are you giving this, like 2.5 stars?
Oh,
5 stars.
Yeah,
of course.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
That's awesome. I saw another movie at the Film Fest. It's a movie that's actually going to be coming out in a few weeks. Kind of a bigger movie. It's called The Idea of You, from director Michael Showalter, who did The Big Sick, among other things. Stars Anne Hathaway as Soline. Soline is a recently divorced mom to a teenage daughter. She owns her own art gallery and has the teen daughter. She's about to celebrate her 40th birthday when she is unexpectedly tasked with taking her daughter Izzy and her friends to Coachella when her ex-husband bails out on them. They're there to see the boy band August Moon, and through a misunderstanding where Soline enters the trailer of one of the members of the group looking for the bathroom, we get our meet cute.
It's a meet cute. Yeah.
As it were. This 20-something boy bander, Hayes Campbell, played by Nicholas Galitzine, isn't like the other pop stars. He's just a regular guy. And she quickly becomes smitten with this young man after seeing them perform. And Hayes is basically the Justin Timberlake or the Harry Styles of this boy band. And Celine begins feeling younger than those old, quote-unquote, 40-year-olds she hangs out with, especially after Hayes arrives at her art gallery looking to connect with her in some really awkward manner. And he claims he likes that she never treated him as a pop star, and their romance starts to get hot and heavy. And of course, she gets her emotional monologue at one point with him, and we go through the motions of a will they, won't they, and we can't be together, what will my daughter think? And you've seen this film dozens of times on the Hallmark Channel. This feels like a direct-to-screaming, really formulaic flick with one big star and no new ideas. And not even the standard, I feel like there's always a standard film fest bump for certain movies where you're just excited to see a movie that no one else has seen.
Yeah.
And like, I'm excited for it. That couldn't save this movie and move it into recommend territory.
Oh.
I mean, if this sounds like your kind of movie where you're certain to know where it's going beat by beat, it will be available on Prime Video May 2nd.
Okay.
Despite my adoration for Anne Hathaway, this was kind of a snooze. It's not bad. It's just nothing to me, and I am giving it the nothing score of 2.5 stars. It's not actually bad, but boy, have I seen this movie many times, and it was kind of a bummer that I only really got to see 2 movies at the film fest. We showed 150, and this was one of the 2.
Yeah, how did you pick that one?
It was timing. It was solely timing. That's what it comes down to when you're running it. You can't sit very long because you got to put out fires. You saw another one real quickly?
Yeah, it's a documentary called Flipside,
Yeah.
and I thought it was going to be about a independent record store in New Jersey. And it is about that, but it's made by a documentarian, I can't think of his name, Chris Warshaw or something.
Sure.
And he does commercials, he directs commercials, but he also tries to do documentaries. And he was in a stage in his life where he was trying to finish a number of these documentaries, including the one about the record store. But, life takes over. He got married, he had kids, he has to make money. So he wasn't able to finish all these other documentaries, including one about a photographer who photographs jazz musicians, another one about a writer who's got writer's block. So what he did, I thought was kind of unique. He just kind of took all the pieces from these various documentaries and put a narrative through all of them.
Interesting.
And then he talks about, well, I really want to finish this one, but this is what's happening. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I wanted to see more about the record store because I'm into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very unique.
Yeah, I sat in on a little bit of a beautiful restoration of the 1971 The Burglars French film.
Okay.
I absolutely loved getting to watch that. We showed so many films at the Film Fest this year. We do it every year, and this is my little plug to go check it out every April. We put it on, and it's a one-week event that is just incredible. And there's films that you've never seen before, films that have been restored. The president of restoration, I believe is her title, for Sony Classics, is a graduate of Sun Prairie High School, and she comes with several films to the Film Fest every year.
Wow.
It's great. It's a fun time, and I had a blast, and always recommend people.
So you didn't get to go see Alexander Payne?
I met Alexander Payne last night.
Oh, you met him?
Yes, he came to our theater.
Whoa.
I met him. And then we went to an after party. I held the door for him. We walked into the bar together.
Did you have a drink with him?
It was pretty great. Well, yes. I also had a drink with about 200 other people that were in the bar.
Yeah, well, Alexander, that's pretty neat.
Pretty cool,
I
though,
mean, Alexander Payne, director of Sideways and The Holdovers.
Yeah.
I mean, this was my second year going to this. I saw one film last year, 2 this year. I really enjoyed it. My hat goes off to you and all the people involved in putting this event on. It is really well run, and I know you had a change of venue this year.
Yeah, we were over at Flick's Brew House.
You're no longer at the old Sundance Theater in Hilldale, and you're at Flick's. And I just thought it was great. And I told Jamison before the show that I'm going to hopefully be retired next year at this time. So
and more Film Fest for you.
More Film Fest, even thinking about volunteering.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's take a look ahead at what is coming soon, the weekend of April the 19th. We have a few films. First one is Abigail. After a group of criminals kidnap the ballerina daughter of a mob boss, they find themselves trapped inside a mansion with what is no normal little girl, starring Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, Melissa Barrera, and Alicia Weir as the titular. Abigail. We also have the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. The British military recruits a small elite group of soldiers to strike Nazi Germany behind enemy lines, led by Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Henry Golding, and a whole host of characters. Over on our streaming service, on Netflix, we have Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. This is Zack Snyder's unnecessary second part to what was one of the worst films of 2023. One that he'll probably be begging to fix in 15 years like he does with all of his movies because he just can't get them right the first time. I hated the first one. Before we go any further, I have to take a moment, though, to thank you, sir. This is our last time together on this show, and I really want to thank you for being a friend, for being someone who has always been willing and even excited to be on this show, have even hosted in my stead when I was gone one week. I have thought about this show coming to an end. We have 3 episodes left. You are the only reason I would continue to do this show if I were going to continue doing it, because I really, really enjoy doing this with you. Don't get weepy at me.
You know I'm a crier.
I know.
My first show I did for this was June 17th, 2021.
Wow.
And the big movie was In the Heights.
Yeah, that's right.
I was scared to death. I thought after doing it, he's not going to ask me back. I'm done. But you did, and I am so grateful to you for giving me this opportunity. And I've loved every minute of doing this show.
Me too.
Even all the bad movies
Yeah,
you made me watch.
I enjoy discussing movies with you. And you've kind of been the majority of the co-host time in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and so thank you for letting me do this, and congratulations on your 10 years. I mean, that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm really going to miss this. I'm going to miss doing the show,
too.
And I'm going to miss watching it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate those words as well. Yeah, it's we're getting close. Speaking of thank yous, I want to give a thank you to our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, the Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring the show for 519 episodes. Man, do I appreciate that. It's been really great. We have a few more, including next week's show, where I'm going to be talking about the new Alex Garland film Civil War, amongst some other things, and I'm going to be joined by my lovely and talented wife, Sarah Rabbit, to do all of that. So I encourage you to tune in next week as well. But until that time, I'm Jamison.
I'm Steve.
Have a great one.